She joins us now with more on this. Congresswoman, always good to see you. You know, Lucas is talking about evacuations, and I start having flashbacks to last year of what happened in Afghanistan. Different situations, but could become equally tense. Many people agree with you. It is not worth the risk, but the Biden administration has let this get out of hand.
Oh, and I absolutely agree with that sentiment. I wrote an op-ed about it this weekend. Rather than escalating tensions with Russia at this juncture, we really should be de-escalating the situation, finding ways and methods of deterrence here. Russia's been building up its forces along the Ukraine border for a year now to have over 100,000. 3,000 troops there isn't going to make a bit of difference. And whether or not we agree or disagree that Ukraine should be part of NATO, it is not worth one drop of American blood on Ukraine's soil to have this fight, this conflict or potential war at this juncture.
Many lawmakers have been calling for sanctions, for this administration to institute sanctions on Russia. Weeks ago, the president saying in his most recent presser with the German chancellor that they won't do that. There'll be bad sanctions, but they're not going to do it until the invasion happens. That doesn't fix the situation.
No, and it's difficult when one of your major allies in Europe is pushing back on this. I mean, you look at the European Union, 38% of their fossil fuel natural gas imports come from Russia. That's about 70% of Russian exports, which is about $50 billion. And so it would be difficult, I think, for them to do that. But that's one thing we should look at. But also the U.S. should be looking at this. We have increased our imports from Russia over the last year. Our exports are less now than they were before. And so we should be finding ways, non-kinetic ways, non-military ways of de-escalating the situation and reducing our own imports of fossil fuel from Russia. And any ally in Europe who would agree to that, we should be encouraging those talks and those negotiations right now. We've got to de-escalate the situation because in the meantime, China is eating our lunch.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. When it came to President Biden, he gave them the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. And now essentially you have the Germans saying we don't really want to disrupt the flow here.
Right.
In that presser, the German chancellor was very cagey. He said he's on board and he's committed, but to what exactly he wouldn't say. He certainly wouldn't say he was committed to shutting the pipeline down, although President Biden, it's not even in control. He said, I promise you I will. I don't know how he could do it. You mentioned China, and I want to move on because athletes are continuing to criticize the COVID measures that we're seeing in the Olympic bubble. Your thoughts on what's happening overseas at the Olympics right now?
Well, it's dystopian, really, and it's sad to watch this. And you can see some of the photos and videos of the athletes who, one of which I read this morning was in isolation for COVID but doesn't have COVID-19. Others are complaining about the very bare accommodations that they have, and some are scared, actually. And case in point, you know, China is using the Olympics to whitewash its human rights atrocities against the Uyghurs and genocide in their own country. And President Biden said, hey, our diplomats can't go. Well, big deal. China doesn't care about that. We have not held them accountable. We shouldn't even be having the Olympics in Beijing.
Yeah, no, a lot of people feel that way. They're boycotting it. They're not watching it, especially on NBC. And they also feel when it comes to the COVID testing policies that the Chinese actually may be using what they're doing over there regarding COVID to cheat as well. And that is unfortunate, too. Congresswoman, always great to see you. We'll have you back again soon.